All right, what's up guys? What you're about to watch is a video journal entry I created yesterday. It is currently September 1st, 2025. I recorded the video entry yesterday, August 31st, 2025. The context of this is, as a few of you may or may not know, I've been going through a pretty aggressive inner healing journey over the last 2.5, 3 years. A lot of pain and a lot of growth, and it's been something that I've largely navigated on my own. And it's something that has persisted until present day. Over the last 2.5 years, I've recorded many video journal entries to myself. And I've recorded over 300 videos now on my phone of me just venting to myself. It was one of the tools I developed early on in my journey through experiencing lots of pain. I recognized it as a always accessible tool that you can use to express however many times as you want and for as long as you want. And it was a nice healthy tool for me. And so it's something I've used more in 2023, 2024. I use it kind of sparingly these days. I don't need it as much. I find that in my journey currently, I don't need as much outward expression of what I'm going through. But in this particular case yesterday, and as you'll see in the video, I provide a lot more context behind what I'm going through and stuff like this. But over the last days and weeks, my internal kind of pain has reached almost like a boiling point, and I really needed to get something out. So I whipped out the phone yesterday and started to record. And as you'll see, only 3, 4, 5 minutes into the journal entry, I have a moment where I start considering the idea of posting this journal entry publicly, which if you're watching this video, I have. And the mindset behind that is, I know that if I'm going through something, there are probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of men that have gone through similar things and are going through similar things. And I think that if I can, continue to crack open the conversation and provide awareness around, struggles that men go through, that I go through, tools to help and just help contribute to making inner healing amongst men more normal, then I will. This is a particularly vulnerable thing that I'm doing. I've made videos in the past of me sharing different things, but this is definitely a next level because it's right in the moment, right in the pocket. Usually I've shared stories or shared videos that I've made after going through something significant. This is literally during. And so it's a bit of a more vulnerable thing for me. As you'll see, I go through a wide variety of emotions over the course of this journal entry, and I also took a bit of mushrooms right before this journal entry yesterday. Mushrooms, like medicinal mushrooms, is something I've used intermittently over the last couple of years. It's a tool that I've used to kind of go deeper within myself. When it comes to substances and drugs, I use them for my greater good. I do not consume anything that is a detriment to me. And alcohol would probably be the one thing that I consume that isn't really good for me. Although I barely consume it anymore. I have a glass of wine like once every couple months type of thing. But other than that, I consume caffeine for energy in the mornings, and I take mushrooms. There have been points in my journey where I've taken it every week for like 8 weeks straight, and then I haven't taken it for like a year. And that was kind of the case leading up until yesterday. I haven't taken it for a while, but I just felt super called to take it. Again, yesterday I just really needed to go deep with myself and let some things out. And again, mushrooms are a tool to help me kind of feel and amplify my inner experience, and it helps me kind of gain clarity. So that was the context there. In this video, I go pretty deep into the intensity of my struggles, and you'll just see it in my face and in my energy in the video as well. I'm not posting this for any amount of sympathy or attention. I've developed tools at this stage in the game where if I need to reach out to someone in my support system, I will. I'm not posting this video as a subconscious cry for help or a plea for external validation or attention or compassion. I like to think that I'm really clear that I'm posting this to help others and to help other men. I don't know if this is even too significant of a thing to post. I don't know if anyone will resonate with this. I don't know if this will help even a single person. I don't know if this will be kind of a big waste of energy. I don't know if 2 people are going to see this or 200 people, but it's just something that I felt aligned to do, felt called to do. And I felt called, as you see in the video as well, to start creating more content and more aspects of my product and service to actually help men and help the world. And which feels a lot more aligned with what Elite Self truly is, as opposed to just fitness. So Anyways, I think that's all I kind of wanted to cover in this intro. If you do resonate with this video, or you're going through your own struggles, or you have any questions, or you want to share something, please comment down below. I'm interested to know if anyone does resonate with this, or if this helps you make a shift in some way, or if this, I don't know, makes you feel more normal in some way, knowing someone else is going through something as well. I don't know. Comment down below, whatever your takeaway is, whatever your thoughts are. And I guess without further ado, we'll get right into it. What's up, guys? It is currently August 31st, 2025. I'm on a bit of mushrooms right now. I took it, kind of felt called to. I've been going through what I'm going to simply call an ego death over the last little bit, because I don't know what else to call it. And I don't really even know how to describe it. Over the last 2.5 years, I've been through more emotional pain than I can articulate. And for a lot of this journey, I've articulated to myself that, life happens for you. Everything happens for a reason. Every ounce of pain you go through is there for your greater benefit. It's trying to show you something. It's trying to show you how you need to grow, what lessons you need to learn. And I think that's still my underlying belief. I can, see a future version of me looking back at this chapter of my life saying, wow, I'm so grateful for that chapter, because it has ripped me apart to the core, and I've been able to rebuild myself in some ways, developed myself in some ways, especially if I consider the version of myself I entered into this with the start of 2023. It's a much different version. So yes, all this pain has led to my growth, and it's led to necessary growth. And so even now I can have a element of gratitude and perspective around this journey and everything it's forged me into. Because ultimately the development that I've been through needed to happen. This was probably, if not the most efficient way to do it. If I'm looking from God or the universe perspective, if I'm looking at, version of Zach 3 years ago, I'm not sure there was a quicker way to develop me than what has occurred over the last 3 years. Who knows though? I've gotten to a point now where I'm meeting the last few months, last few weeks, last few days, where the flavor and intensity of pain in my nervous system has not really subsided. And I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work, a lot of crying, a lot of expressing, a lot of communicating. But after 2.5 years of different flavors of the same pain, it feels like I've reached a point where I'm trying to evaluate. Because before it did feel like I was just running on a hamster wheel, running on a hamster wheel, running on a hamster wheel. And the pain, it's felt like I just can't shake it. It's just there. And it's pretty localized. Solar plexus, it's a lot in the heart area these days. Throat head, kind of, just the whole. It's felt it more and more in my heart, which, is a sign of progress itself. I used to feel nothing in the heart, and then slowly, as I was cracked open, 2023, 2024, I felt more and more in my heart area, whereas before I didn't feel anything there. Now I feel a lot there. The pain has gotten to a point in my nervous system where I don't want to speak. I don't want to do anything. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I've been doing a lot, working a lot, deploying a lot of discipline. I don't think that working my way out of this is a viable option. Deploying more discipline, deploying more work ethic. I don't know whether it's surrender, letting go of everything, or leaning into everything, going harder with everything. I don't know whether it's a knowledge gap. Do I need to be consuming more material, studying more material? Do I need to be spending more time with certain people? Do I need to be spending more time meditating, reading, journaling? Maybe it's a mission issue. Do I need to be more aligned? Do I need to be fucking posting these videos on TikTok? Perhaps it's one of the underlying thoughts that I've had during this entire video session is, what the fuck is the point of this if no one sees it? What's the point of me just collecting 300 plus videos? For what? But then it's easy to say, oh, I'm gonna post these videos, I'm gonna do this shit. And then, you know, tomorrow comes and like, okay, I'm not really gonna do that shit. Post my fucking videos where I'm crying on social media for what? But again, isn't all hesitation to do so just a product of the ego? Is all of this suffering just caused by ego? Probably. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think, you know, back to what I was saying earlier, how everything happens for you. I think that it's funny. I've preached that belief many times on social media, and I've mainly preached it. Well, you know, I'll say this. I've preached it many times before having any concept of what actual pain feels like. And I've preached it also in the depths of my own pain at earlier stages of my journey. The deeper I get into this, I think that the less this becomes about me, the more it just becomes about serving humanity the greatest capacity possible. I think that if I just make this about me, continue just to think about myself, I'm probably gonna fucking explode. I think that I need to operate like I could die tomorrow and actually provide to the world what I know I'm called to provide. Because what is the fucking point if I don't? And what is in the way? A list of things just caused by ego, fear, insecurities, doubt. So now what? You know? It's easy to say whatever you want on one day with a certain emotional environment, but how about day 2, day 40, when you become dominated again by your regular thought patterns and emotion? The underlying factors of this video are a man who's been through significant pain, who is working on developing awareness behind the sources of the pain, who is starting to develop tools to manage, process, express, and harness and alleviate himself of the pain, who is searching for meaning of the pain, meaning for his life, searching for purpose, searching for the reason why, searching for what he's meant to do, searching for the route to break through. I have posted shit of me before, vulnerable videos, but nothing of this sort. But perhaps I should, because why not? Why not? Maybe this is what I need to do. I've been asking for a way out for fucking a long time. I've been struggling for a long time, not knowing what to do for a long time. Perhaps I've been saying this whole time, oh, more men need to be vulnerable and actually share. Yet I haven't necessarily been leading by example. It's easy to be vulnerable to yourself or to a person, solo, one-on-one, but to the whole internet is a different ballpark. But it's a ballpark that I probably need to step into, because to me it feels that the only way past is through. Alright. It's fucking wild, man. My big fucking thought pattern now is like even posting this video online and starting to really fucking, you know, lean into my own journey, my own story, my own struggles. Because I don't see much practicality in just trying to post what I think people will like and trying to fucking, you know, post fitness content. This is how you do a bicep curl and fucking this is how you track calories. And it's interesting. I know if I do post it, not many people will see it, but maybe one person sees it and it shifts something for them. There's probably only one way my life leads, and it's the only way past is through. Yeah, I think so. There's no way. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way I've been, you know, injected with 1, this much pain, and 2, this much of a calling to impact the world in a positive way, to not share this stuff with the world. It'd be different if I was going through consistent, excruciating pain and didn't have any desire to impact the world in a positive way. Then maybe I might just handle this completely privately. But since I have a burning desire to not only impact the world in a positive way, but to help solve all major world problems. Since that desire is so strong and so unwavering, and since I'm healing and have dealt with levels of emotional pain I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy, it would only make sense that 1 + 1 = 2, and I help the world, one pillar of which is going to be men's mental health. And the route or the vehicle or the method I do so is by sharing my own story, sharing my own struggles, even though it's uncomfortable, even though whatever else, whatever other things are in the way. I've recorded 300 of these videos. I have a folder on my phone over 2.5 years. It's been a long journey. But I think this is, what I have to do. Because I don't see another way out at this point. I have been kind of talking more to men and niching down to men and speaking more to men in my social media content. Mainly due to, being a man. I've been a participant in many men's groups. I've facilitated by my brother and other people as well. Men as a whole are largely underrepresented as far as mental health goes, as far as vulnerability and expression goes, as far as stepping into their feminine and giving themselves space to process and to feel. And, there's something beautiful about, a group of men just coming together as brothers. It's a sacred feeling. A lot of men, in that context are doing so for the first time and have never felt the safe, sacred space of vulnerability, especially with other dudes. And so for these reasons, I've kind of started to talk more to men in my content. I've had a very, 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 very strong calling and inclination to not just talk about fitness, but to talk about holistic self-development, including emotional development, spiritual, mental, behavioral. Like, to me, I'm fine talking about fitness content. I think it is the foundation of self-development, but the world doesn't need another fitness coach out of me. That's not my calling. That's not my purpose. And does this mean that my company will no longer provide fitness coaching services? Absolutely not. I have right now a small team of fitness coaches who are fucking amazing at what they do, and they'll continue to deliver to clients in a high quality capacity. However, the direction my brand will take will be solidified not just in fitness, but in holistic self-development, including emotional development, inner healing, psychological development, identity, belief-related development, even spiritual development, certainly behavioral development, because that's what the world needs. And I believe that's why I've endured the last 2.5 years of treatment. It's because I wasn't meant to be another fucking gym bro telling you to eat protein and do your push-ups. I have largely been called to speak to men, help men. However, what I'm experiencing and what a lot of men experience is not a men exclusive related phenomenon. It's a human phenomenon. And I think the most pure, the most aligned, not to the 80th or 90th or 95 or 97th or 99th percentile, but the version of my company that is aligned to the 100th percentile is a company that not only helps men but women, non-gender specific, helps people become the versions of themselves that they need to in order to max out their true potential. And I fucking laugh because I've been saying this for 5 years, 6 years almost. Become your lead self. But what started as a highly theoretical philosophy has now transformed into a largely visceral and experiential philosophy that I can say with my chest, not just with my mind. And I laugh for a few reasons, one of which, mushrooms make me a tad giggly. 2, I've been going fucking insane, and half of my laughter is just due to pure insanity, honestly. And just going fucking crazy. Those might actually be the 2 reasons. I don't know if there's much more. Quick side tangent. I'm working on developing my relationship with God. And one transition I recently made was calling him God instead of the universe. I started going to church, and today was my second day at church, second week at church. And so, I told you guys over the last 6 months or so, I've just going through an extended amount of pain over the last 2.5 years. And then the last 6 months or so, when I came back from Bali, came back to Kelowna, which is where I'm currently living, I pretty much more or less isolated myself and was, going through pain. And through this pain, through just endless pain, I reached a point where I felt as though I had to surrender and, out of necessity, develop a level of faith, a greater level of faith. Because as I said, I've had more theoretical beliefs, such as, life is happening for you, not to you, and that everything happens for a reason, and that, I'm going through this for a reason. But after going through a certain amount of it, those beliefs got tested greatly. How much do I really believe that? Because I've had those beliefs before I experienced any level of real pain, and I've had those beliefs 2 months in. And after 2 months into the real pain, I was thinking, wow, I've been going through this shit for 2 months. This is crazy. But 2 years in, 2.5 years in, with unrelenting emotional pain, 99% of the time, I've reached a point where I recognized some level of faith has to occur here. And I've had, again, more of a theoretical belief in the universe. Something's out there, higher power, higher level of consciousness, a creator, a source. However, my beliefs didn't really stem much past that. They've never been tested, haven't been deepened for any reason. But after going through a certain amount of pain, I started to look inside myself, look out there, look for something. And I found myself referring to the higher power as God instead of the universe. And that might seem like a trivial shift, just simply calling it something different. But for me, it was somewhat symbolic. To me, it represented developing a higher level of faith and almost surrender. And so anyways, a natural point to start talking about is what now? What, is this a big change moment? What's going to be different? Because talk is cheap. Talk is super fucking cheap. It's free. I've been articulating to myself for a long fucking time now. Something needs to change. Something needs to change. Something needs to change. Something needs to fucking change. And you know what? I've recorded 300 of these fucking videos, but this one is a bit different. And not because of anything inherent within the video per se, but I've reached just a point in my life, and I happen to be recording this video at this point in my life, where I have the perfect amount of time and the perfect amount of mushrooms in my system, and the perfect level of emotional pain, the perfect amount of awareness and consciousness, the perfect amount of healing already conducted to make a fucking shift. So here's the thing. I've been in a point many times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this shift. This is gonna change. This is gonna change. This is gonna change. This is gonna change. And then I get sucked right back into fucking hell. And by hell, I mean my emotional environment. Because if you look at my life from a external lens, you'd be like, oh, this guy's a pretty chill life. Entrepreneurship can be stressful, but all things considered, first world problems. So when I say hell, I mean internal, because, from external, a lot of people are like, oh, so happy or so positive. But again, I've been through I'm not trying to talk like a fucking victim. I know I've been through this pain for a reason, and I can give myself a lot of love and a lot of compassion for what I've been through. And the thing about it is, I've been through a lot of emotional pain, but so are a lot of other people. And this is why I need to start sharing it, because even for me, I'm used to sharing shit online. I've developed the muscle. I've developed the skill of talking to a camera and being vulnerable on camera and being vulnerable to a group of people. But even this, for me, is the next level of that. That's scary. That feels like it takes balls. But it's a level of faith as well, because for me, the only way past is through. I don't know what else I would do with my life. Would I just continue to try to make a fucking fitness company? No. I've said a lot of things, mainly to myself. Things need to change. Things need to shift. I'm tired of, just being in the fitness niche. I've honestly been boiling on the inside, in the sense of, I know I need to do something. I know I need to step into a certain version of myself and a certain version of my company, certain version of my product. I've been eaten alive, and I mean every ounce of that sentence, because I haven't been fully aligned with my vision. And again, talk is cheap. I can say this, I can say I'm going to be aligned, blah, blah, blah. You can say whatever you want, but ultimately I do intend to make a few real shifts. One of which is I feel called to create a men's circle. And that's what stemmed my original thought pattern of men versus women, because should I actually create a men's circle, or should it be women as well? Because again, pain is a human phenomenon, not just a men phenomenon. However, the majority of suicides are men. The majority of suppressed pain probably is on the men's side of things. I think men are the least supported. Men have the least amount of people that they're willing to talk to about their shit. I think women have inherently a little bit more of a support system amongst themselves. And so yeah, of course, I want to help humanity. I want to help humanity as a whole, and I will. But perhaps the highest leverage, the 80-20 of the 80-20, is to start with men. And so I'll start with men, sure. The point is, I think it's time for me, one, to start creating services and offerings and products to the world that are actually aligned with what I know I need to do and how I need to impact the world. On a very local level, I want to provide free masterminds for men, as in like a men's circle, something I host perhaps weekly or monthly or bi-weekly, whatever. Speaking right off the top of my head here, giving each man a chance to share what he's going through and what he's been through. Very judgment-free space for the other men in the group to learn how to listen and to learn how to just be silent and acknowledge and to hear, and more importantly, feel the pain that another man's going through, and then have a chance to share it themselves. I think that's incredibly valuable, and it's something I feel highly called to deliver upon. But also within my company as well. For example, the definition of elite self is becoming the version of yourself you need to mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, habitually, such that you can achieve your max potential. All of us have a different starting point for what that is. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of areas of development that we must embark on within each category: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. There's so many different angles, so many different avenues, so many different conversations that need to be had, so many different ways to deliver, so many different aspects of coaching that could be delivered upon there, so many different types of coaches that need to be provided. That's interesting. And as I continue to strip away the layers of my own ego, my ego is probably the root of, well, not only my own suffering, but I think all of our ego is probably the root of a lot of suffering. And it's the root of so much suffering on a global scale. How much conflict, how much needless death can be avoided if, the leaders of the world were that much more evolved consciously? How much internal suffering could be avoided if our egos weren't the ones driving the ship, controlling us, blinding us? To many of you, it may look like I'm going fucking insane, because I am. But what would be much more insane is if I were to continue along the same path and not express to the world what I need to. Because otherwise, I'm going to end up like, that picture of Einstein where his hair is just like this. That's how I feel. I just feel like I'm going to fucking explode. And not to say I'm Einstein and that smart. I don't think I'm that smart. I think if I was smarter, I probably could have ended my suffering a long time ago. I don't know what the actual definition of intelligence is. I think Naval Ravikant made a point on the Joe Rogan podcast at one time saying, if you're so smart, why are you suffering? Or something like this. And I think there's a lot of validity to that. I think there's also different types of intelligence. Anyways, rabbit hole we don't need to go on. Hey, look, the first portion of this video, I made it because I was embarking on a form of release that I commonly do with myself, which is video journaling. Something I highly recommend to you guys, by the way. It's not a be-all, end-all thing. It's not a silver bullet. However, it can be highly expressive, especially if you're not used to expressing anything to anyone ever. It can be highly expressive because it's the first kind of medium or method you can use to cry and to talk without any judgment. And the first layer of judgment you have to overcome is your own. You have to get used to saying your own things and getting used to crying in front of yourself. And that's the fundamental, layer of judgment that you have to overcome and release. But after 300 videos of it, in my case at least, there's just diminishing returns. There got to a point where how many more of these videos am I gonna make before I actually start to try to improve the world in some way? Like I said, I'm gonna go fucking crazy if I don't actually step into what I know I need to step into. How many times am I gonna tell people that I care about, oh yeah, I'm kind of just burnt out with this whole fitness thing, and I really want to do more with my life, and I really want to step into something that's more authentic with my true fucking mission before I actually do it. The first portion of this is where I was going with that whole thing. The first portion of this video was a thing I was going to do for myself, just because I needed to express, I needed to let some shit out. But, the last 75% of this, when I started having the conversation around, oh, okay, maybe I should start sharing this shit, I've made the latter 75% of this knowing I'm going to fucking post it, because at this point I have to, because what else would I do besides not post this? I just have to. Last thing I'll mention, because I probably should wrap this up, as much fun as we're having here, it feels like a fairly pivotal point in my life. Something was going to happen. Otherwise, I'm just gonna. There was no other. Like something had to occur. Just the same way that water boils once it reaches a certain temperature. There's no other physical reality that could occur. The steam, the heat, it has to get out. It has to transmute. This will be the most authentic thing I ever put out on social media, the most vulnerable thing I put out on social media. Some people might not understand, or some people may judge, maybe even hate, who knows. Some people might resonate on some level, I don't know. Well, if you stuck with me to the end of this one, it's an hour and 10 on my phone right now. I don't know how short this will be after clipping all the blank space in between my words. But if you stuck with me to the end here, thank you for your time. If you did stick with me to the end, I'm assuming this resonated with you on some level, or perhaps it was just a form of entertainment for you, or both. Either way, it's all good. Thank you. This was just an instance of documentation of my own journey, my own thought patterns. Like I said, I primarily just did this for myself because I was going to fucking explode if I didn't. I reached that point where I just cannot continue to keep certain things on the inside. They say that transformation happens when the pain of staying stuck outweighs the pain of change. I think in a lot of ways that's true. I think it's true. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate your time. Subscribe for more. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.